The rescue. The battlefield burned with the colors of two dying suns. Commander Aaron Hale stood at the edge of the smoking ridge, his pulse steady even as alien war machines rained fire from the clouds. The human expeditionary force was outnumbered, trapped between collapsing cliffs and the relentless assault of the Karva Empire. Then the distress beacon came through the static, weak and desperate. A royal transport had been shot down behind enemy lines, carrying none other than Princess Lysara of the Karva royal bloodline, the very empire that had sworn to wipe out humanity. And yet her signal was crying for help, repeating the same phrase in broken galactic common. "Please, anyone help me." Aaron looked at his crew. They were tired, wounded, and low on ammo. But something in that voice struck a chord in him. Not politics, not duty, just the raw tone of fear, the kind he had heard in the cries of human children on ruined colonies. "Prepare a drop team," he ordered. Lieutenant Vargas stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "Sir, that's an alien royal. Saving her could start another war." Aaron's eyes were cold, determined, or it could end one. The drop shuttle screamed through the ash clouds. Laser fire cut across the sky as they descended into the crater. When the ramp opened, the air was thick with radiation and smoke. But there, half buried in the wreckage, was a small figure. Golden armor cracked, breathing shallow. Her eyes, bright silver, met his through the haze. "Stay still," Aaron said softly. The princess flinched, confusion and fear mixing in her expression. He cut through the twisted hull with his plasma cutter. One of his men shouted, "Hostiles incoming!" But Aaron ignored it, throwing himself between her and the charging drones. His rifle barked light and thunder, each shot tearing through enemy metal. A blast threw him backward, armor sparking, but he didn't stop. He dragged the princess toward the shuttle as debris rained from above. "Why?" she whispered, clutching his arm. Aaron barely heard her over the roar. "Because you asked for help," he said. Pulling her inside, the shuttle's engine screamed, lifting just as the crater exploded behind them. Inside, she stared at him, trembling. "You're human," she said, as if the word meant both wonder and disbelief. He gave a tired grin, wiping soot from his face. "Yeah, and you're lucky humans are stubborn." As they broke through the storm into the stars, the princess didn't look away. She had been raised to believe humans were savages, destroyers, monsters, but now the monster had saved her life. And somewhere, deep in her heart, a seed of doubt and something else began to grow. The Queen's debt. The med bay of the human starship Resolute was silent except for the hum of machines. Princess Lysara opened her eyes slowly, the harsh white light making her blink. She tried to sit up but felt the gentle weight of a restraining field keeping her still. Her body was wrapped in healing gel, burns sealed by human nanotech. For the first time in her royal life, she was in the hands of the enemy. Commander Aaron stood by the viewing glass, arms crossed, his face unreadable. He had fought wars before, rescued civilians before, but never someone like her, the daughter of the Karva Queen, the ruler who had declared humanity a threat to the stars. Yet now, that same ruler's child lay alive because of him. "She's stable," the medic reported. Aaron only nodded, eyes never leaving the princess. Outside, the stars drifted by, silent witnesses to the strange turn of fate. When Lysara woke again, Aaron was sitting nearby reading a report. She studied him carefully, the scars, the weary eyes, the calm strength in his voice when he finally spoke. "You're safe here," he said. "Your ship's wreck was deep inside a war zone. We barely got you out." Her throat tightened. "You should have left me. My people will never forgive this." Aaron gave a small smile. "Maybe they'll learn something new." Hours later, the communication link flared alive. A massive royal fleet had appeared on sensors. The Karva flagship Eternal Radiance. And with it, the Queen herself, her voice filled the ship's bridge. "Cold, regal, powerful human commander, you hold what is mine. Return my daughter immediately." "And you will not be destroyed," Aaron replied calmly. "She's injured, she needs time to recover. I will not risk her life for your pride." A silence followed, long and dangerous. Then the Queen's tone softened just slightly. "You saved her life," she said, her voice carrying something almost like disbelief. "No human has ever done such a thing. I owe you a debt. One I do not wish to owe." The Resolute was escorted to the Karva capital world, a planet of glass towers and golden oceans. Every weapon on every turret followed their descent. The human crew felt like insects walking into a lion's den. When Aaron stepped out with the princess beside him, the palace guards raised their spears, but lowered them at Lysara's command. Inside the throne hall the queen awaited, tall and radiant in her shimmering armor. Her eyes burned with the light of 1,000 suns. She studied Aaron as if seeing a strange creature that defied her empire's logic. "You risked your life for my child," she said slowly. "Why?" Aaron's voice was steady. "Because life, no matter whose, is worth saving." For a long moment, the queen said nothing. Then she turned to her daughter, touching her cheek gently. "You live because of him," she whispered. Lysara nodded, her voice quiet. "He saved me, mother. He is not what they told us humans are." The queen looked back at Aaron, eyes narrowing. "You will not leave yet," she declared. Aaron blinked. "Is that a threat?" Her lips curved slightly. "A command, Commander Hale. Until I decide what to make of you." The guards closed in, not hostile, but firm. Aaron stood tall, the faintest smirk crossing his face. He had walked into the Empire's heart and survived, but as he was led through the shimmering halls of alien royalty, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The queen owed him her daughter's life, and debts among the Karva were never simple. The human guest days passed inside the shining walls of the Karva Palace. Commander Aaron Hale, once a soldier of the human fleet, now walked through corridors filled with whispers. Alien nobles stared at him like he was a strange animal, both feared and curious. Every movement he made was watched, every breath recorded. He had been given a chamber, luxurious but locked. Food arrived through silent drones, and armed guards stood by the door. But Aaron didn't complain. He had seen prisons far worse. He spent his time studying the alien symbols etched on the walls, learning, observing, planning. Princess Lysara visited often, against her mother's orders. She brought him books, holograms, and once, a cup of glowing tea from her world's sacred gardens. "You shouldn't be here," he said softly. She smiled faintly. "Neither should you." Their conversations were brief but filled with quiet fascination. She asked about Earth, about oceans, about rain, things her kind had only seen through data streams, and Aaron listened to her speak about her people's traditions, the stars they conquered, the peace they had forgotten one evening. The queen summoned him to the Hall of Reason. It was a place of light and truth, where no one could lie. The air itself pulsed with ancient energy. She sat upon her throne, cold and perfect. "You have been among us for 6 days. Human," she said. "Tell me, what do you think of my empire?" Aaron met her gaze, calm and honest. "It's beautiful," he said, "but it feels like a cage built from pride." A gasp rippled through the council chamber. No one spoke to the queen that way. But she didn't strike him, she only leaned forward. Her eyes sharp. "And humanity, what are you?" He took a deep breath. "We are what happens when you take weakness and make it fight to live." The hall fell silent again. The queen's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind her regal mask. A spark of understanding. "Or perhaps respect bold words from a fragile creature," she murmured. "We shall see if your strength is more than words." From that day, Aaron was no longer treated as a prisoner. He was given access to the royal gardens, the archives, and even a small laboratory. Scientists came to question him about human technology, and he answered carefully, revealing little but earning their respect. And in the evenings, Princess Lysara would meet him beneath the crystal trees. She had begun to laugh again, something she hadn't done since the war began. One night, as silver rain fell across the domed sky, she said quietly, "My mother is watching you." "I know," Aaron replied, smiling faintly. "Queens usually do." "She believes you are dangerous," Lysara whispered. "But I think you're different." Aaron looked at her, his voice gentle. "Different doesn't always mean safe." Before he could say more, alarms echoed through the palace. A blast shook the ground, distant but powerful. Guards rushed past, shouting in their alien tongue. Lysara's eyes widened in fear. Aaron grabbed his jacket, instincts kicking in. "Stay here," he said. But she caught his arm. "It's my people attacking," she gasped. "Rebel factions, they think the queen has betrayed them for saving me." The irony hit him like a storm. He had come as a rescuer, now trapped in the center of an alien civil war, and this time running wasn't an option. Not when the same princess he saved might die again. The attack on the palace. The sound of explosions tore through the golden night. Flames licked the high towers of the Karva Palace as panic spread like wildfire. Rebel ships streaked across the skyline, firing plasma bolts that shattered the shield domes inside the throne hall. The Queen stood tall and unshaken while her guards scrambled to defend her. Aaron Hale was already running through the corridors. His human reflexes sharper than most of the palace guards. He reached the command deck just as a blast threw 2 sentries to the floor. "Report!" he shouted, grabbing one of the trembling officers. "The rebels breached the lower gates, Commander," the alien replied. "They want the Queen dead. She's accused of surrendering to humans." Aaron's mind raced. He had seen civil wars before. He had seen betrayal and chaos. But this one was different. It was born from pride, from the lie that strength meant mercy was weakness. He grabbed a fallen blaster and moved toward the defense grid. "Activate internal shields, evacuate civilians, and lock down the royal wing," he ordered. The guards hesitated for only a second before obeying. It was strange. An alien army following the voice of a human. Yet in that moment, no one cared about species. Only survival. Down in the garden halls, Princess Lysara tried to reach the throne room. Smoke filled the air. Lights flickered. When she saw Aaron leading the defense line, her heart surged with both fear and something unspoken. "You should be with your mother," Aaron said, taking cover beside her. "She's the target," Lysara cried. "She won't flee. She'll face them." Aaron looked at her, eyes fierce. "Then we face them with her." They burst into the main chamber as rebel soldiers broke through the doors. Blaster fire erupted, echoing against the crystal walls. Aaron dove forward, rolling behind a column, returning fire with precise, brutal accuracy. Every shot he took dropped an attacker. His movements like a storm, fast, controlled, relentless. The aliens fighting beside him stared in awe. They had been taught humans were chaotic beasts. Yet here he was, saving their empire with perfect discipline. The Queen stood in the center of the hall. Unarmed but unyielding, her voice thundered. "Lay down your weapons!" The rebels ignored her, aiming their rifles at her heart, and before anyone could react, Aaron stepped in front of her. The blast hit his chest plate, sparks flying. He staggered, fell to one knee but didn't fall. He raised his weapon and fired back with everything he had left. The rebels scattered under his fire, their courage breaking. When silence finally came, smoke filled the room. Lysara ran to him, catching him as he fell. His armor was scorched, his breathing shallow. "Why do you always stand between death and me?" she whispered, tears in her silver eyes. Aaron's voice was faint. "Because that's what humans do." The Queen knelt beside them, her regal calm broken for the first time. She pressed her hand to his wound, energy flowing through her fingers. "You saved me," she said, her voice trembling. "Again. Human." Aaron tried to smile. "Maybe now you'll let me go," he whispered weakly. But the Queen's gaze hardened. "No," she said softly, "now I cannot." Outside, the palace lights dimmed as the royal fleet crushed the last of the rebellion. Inside, a human lay bleeding, and an alien empire realized something it had never believed before, that the strength of humanity was not in power, but in sacrifice. The Queen's decision. The royal palace stood in ruins, its once golden towers now cracked and dark. The rebellion had been crushed, but the cost was heavy. Smoke still drifted across the sky, carrying the bitter scent of victory. Inside the throne hall, the Queen watched over the human lying on the healing platform. Commander Aaron Hale, broken armor, burnt skin, and a heartbeat that flickered like a dying star. Her daughter, Princess Lysara, sat beside him, holding his hand gently. For hours she had refused to leave, whispering prayers in both human and Karva tongues. The Queen stood silently, torn between duty and gratitude. She had ruled for centuries, her heart hardened by war and betrayal. But this human, this fragile being, had stood before death twice for her and her child. No warrior of her kind had ever done the same. The healers worked tirelessly. Human medicine and alien energy combined into a strange harmony. When Aaron finally opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was Lysara's face. Her silver eyes were wet with tears. "You're awake," she whispered, her voice shaking. He tried to sit up but winced in pain. "Guess I'm not dead yet," he murmured. A faint smile on his lips, the Queen approached. Her footsteps soft against the shattered floor. She looked down at him, not as a ruler looking at a subject, but as a mother looking at the man who saved her child. "You have given me something I cannot repay," she said slowly. Aaron's voice was weak but steady. "Then let me go home." Her gaze hardened, the air growing still. "I cannot," she said. You've seen too much of our world, our weakness, our fear. He laughed faintly, coughing. I've seen your strength too, he said. And it's not in your weapons. It's in your love for her. The Queen studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she turned to her daughter. You care for him, she said quietly. Lysara lowered her eyes, her cheeks glowing faintly. I owe him my life, she whispered, but it's more than that. The Queen sighed, her voice softer than anyone had ever heard. Humans are dangerous because they make others feel, she said. Aaron looked at her. Maybe that's not danger, he said gently. Maybe that's hope. The hall fell silent, the weight of his words echoing in the air. The Queen turned to her guards. Prepare a ship, she commanded. Lysara's head snapped up, surprised. Mother? The Queen's eyes met Aaron's. You will return to your people, Commander Hale, she said. But you will not be forgotten. Aaron tried to stand, but his legs gave out. Lysara rushed to support him, and for a brief moment the galaxy seemed to stop turning. They looked at each other, two lives from different worlds bound by something deeper than war. I'll come back, he whispered. She smiled softly. I'll wait. As the ship lifted off from the Carva world, the Queen watched from her balcony. Her daughter stood beside her. Eyes lost among the stars, the Queen spoke quietly. Perhaps the universe was wrong about them. Lysara nodded. Perhaps, she said. Humanity was sent to remind us what it means to feel, and far beyond the clouds, the human ship disappeared into the vast silence of space, leaving behind an empire forever changed, an alien princess who had learned compassion, and a queen who would never again call humanity weak, because one man had shown them what true strength really was.